So what is a wholesome and nourishing meal? And how can we put an end to these diet trends and stop people from getting confused and stop people from hunting on the net or just listening around and trying out different kinds of diets? So we need to explain to them, as I already said, that we need to explain to them that it is not just the number on the weighing scale. We need to, build up on the body strength so that as our muscles, our lean body weight goes up, the fat goes down. And wherever the number goes, the body volume would change because it is the fat which occupies the volume and the muscles don't occupy too much of volume. So if you become more muscular, if you lose the fat, then your body is going to get toned up. You would lose in inches. It is the waist and the hips which matter the most. It is the visceral fat which we need to lose. So they need to check more on that, whether we are losing inches on our waist and hips or not, instead of checking the numbers again and again. So once they understand that, you can easily put forth this good food guidance to them. Now, what is good food? First thing, good food is something that would not make us sick. Make us sick, like as in not give us infections, not give us fevers, not give us any kind of stomach upsets in the short term and in the long term, not give us any kind of lifestyle disorders or diseases like diabetes, again, hypertension, thyroid, PCOD, arthritis, whatever is going around. These kind of disorders should not set in when we are having good food. So this is a clear concept of good food. So what can we pick up in our food plans when we make these food plans? What are we supposed to pick up to make it a good food? First thing first, it should be familiar to your client. You cannot be giving them food which is alien to them, something which they've never heard. It should be a food which they have heard the name of, which they have a name for in their local language, which they have been growing up eating, which is known in their house, their parents or maybe their grandparents know about it. And in fact, you know what? Their gut flora would also know about it. If we give it a new food, if we give them a new food, if the gut flora is getting a new food, the gut flora would not be happy eating that. In fact, most of the gut flora would, it would not exist when this kind of food comes in. A new kind of gut flora would start developing. So they would lose out on the gut flora with which they were born with, because that bacteria is never going to eat the new kind of food. So we need to give them familiar food which is not stressing them out, which we cannot be like. A lot of people come to me saying that we are already into a healthy diet. The word healthy diet is again so misunderstood these days. They think that they are having a healthy diet because they're eating quinoa, because maybe they're eating avocados, maybe they're eating kale. But what they fail to understand that this is not healthy for them. It might be healthy for somebody living in America or in Italy or some other place, but not for them. So we need to make sure that they understand that the food growing around them, growing locally, which has been in their culture, which has been a part of their cuisine, is the kind of food that they need to eat. It is the food which would be recognized by everyone inside them and outside them. If they're going to ask someone to cook it for them, the people around would not be hassled. They would know that, okay, this is being cooked in the family and we can cook it for them also. So it is not something which is difficult to cook, difficult to find, and difficult to maybe eat also, because again, you need to develop taste for these kind of new things. So as it is clear that it should be familiar, it should be food coming from the farms and forests That is food from the plants, but not made in the plants. It should be directly coming from the plants. The second thing is that, as I already have covered up this point also, but it is like local. So it is the food which is growing around us. It is the food which we see near the local vendors selling around us, which is easily available, which is kind of part of the region there where we live. So if I am in Bengal, today my lunch consisted of the banana flour, which is commonly known as mocha over here. So that's a very, very local vegetable which grows over here. Each one of us has a local vegetable, has many local vegetables and fruits growing around us. And that is what should be there in the food plan. And when I say local, it particularly should be made sure that a local fruit comes into our food plan. A hyper-local fruit which comes in a particular season and then it cannot be seen. So just for a short period of time. For example, right now, custard apple is in season. We call it Sharifa, some call it Sitafal. So it has a lot of local names also. And it is a fruit which comes in one particular season and then it is not seen all over the year. So there are many fruits like banana, papaya, apple, which are there for 12 months. And I'm not saying not to eat them, but we should be including the hyper-local fruit or that particular fruit which comes in for a particular season and then goes away. And so we come to the seasonal food. Now, what do we mean by seasonal food? Nowadays, everything is available all around the year. Everything has become easy to get because of the technology, because of the latest farm technologies also. But actually, farming was always done according to the crop cycle. And we should be eating in sync with the crop cycle. Then we are doing right for ourselves and we're doing right for the soil also. If we are growing broccoli all the year round because broccoli is good for us, then it is not good for the soil and actually it is not good for our health for having so much of broccoli. It is the cruciferous vegetables like cauliflower, broccoli supposed to be had in winters, but we see cauliflower all the year round. It is being sold everywhere. Similarly, the grains are also particular in their season. We have the finger millet or the ragi or the nachni right now, which is the monsoon grain. We have the winter grain, which is bajra, and we have the summer grain, which is jowar, apart from the wheat and rice, which is, of course, eaten all around the year. So these are some particular grains, and we have some fasting grains. So everything needs to be eaten according to the season. If we are eating out of season, if we are looking for things which are not in season, then we are at fault. Because every food has a heating or cooling effect. And so it should be eaten in the season that it is actually grown in and when it is actually going to benefit us. And then, of course, the food should be affordable. When we look for exotic foods, then they are definitely not affordable. If you're going to hunt for avocados, if you're going to eat kale, if you're going to eat the quinoa and the asparagus and so much more, then we know that it's going to take a toll on our wealth also. So we need to maintain both health and wealth. When we are, giving a food plan to a client, we also need to understand that it should not be a burning out on the pockets. So it needs to be affordable. And what is again affordable? What is growing around us? What is local? What is in season is affordable. And this is again common sense. So it is all related. You see, when we think affordable, we would automatically think local. When we think local, we would think of familiar food and food which is in season. And the important thing is that we need to tell them that this all food should be cooked in our kitchen with our family heritage, meaning that it should be made in the most traditional ways. We cannot be taking food just for its one random benefit. We cannot be eating it in large proportions just because it is going to benefit us for one particular disorder. Like, for example, I hear very often that we soak methi dana and we drink it every day in the morning because we know that that cures diabetes. Or somebody says that I take jeera water every day in the morning in the hope of weight loss. Or somebody is doing amla shots, somebody is doing ashgod juice, somebody is doing haldi shots to boost immunity and whatnot. But we need to understand that when we take these spices, these herbs, or these raw vegetables in the forms of shots, juices, smoothies, then they are not bioavailable. They are, in fact, giving us more acidity, bloating, maybe constipation. So all the ABC issues come in when we are actually having the ABC juices. So that's not what we need. In fact, we need to take them in the right combinations and in the right proportions. And that is done only and only when we follow the time-tested recipes and the traditional ways of cooking. Now imagine when somebody goes off the grains, but they need to fill up their stomach. So the advice that they get is, first have a big bowl of salad, have raw vegetables, have saute vegetables, then drink 2 bowls of dal. Of course, the stomach would fill up. But is this proportion correct? Is this going to be bioavailable? Or so much fiber is just going to give us more bloating? By the traditional ways, we have always understood that dal should be consumed with a grain. And the proportion of the grain should always be more than the dal. Look into any recipe that you work on. Look into our simple recipe of khichdi. What is the proportion? The rice is more than dal. When you look into a recipe of a dosa or an idli, what is the proportion again? The rice is much more than the dal. When it comes to biryani, what is the proportion? It's rice more and less of vegetables or less of chicken or whatever is being added. So how come on the plate we can put more of the veggies or more katoris of dal or more of the grilled fish and grilled chicken and less or no grain? So these proportions cannot be spoiled. These traditional methods of cooking cannot be ignored. So when we talk of food, we have to consider all these points if we need it to be nurturing and nourishing. And the last thing, it should be sustainable. If it is not, what is the point of the diet? When it is sustainable, when is it sustainable? Not when we are asking them to eat one particular kind of a rigid diet. It is not sustainable when we are putting them on a mono diet of fruits or of salads or of juices or of chicken, fish, anything. It is not sustainable. After a period of time, that person would want to eat normal food, as they call it, normal food. And what is normal food? Normal food is again the one that we have been eating right since childhood, the one which we have been introduced to. For somebody, it's dal roti. For somebody, it's rice. For somebody, it's dal and vegetable. Roti and vegetables. For somebody, it's dal and rice. For somebody, it's dosa and sambar. For somebody, it may be paratha and makhan. So whatever has been taught to us, that is what our gut flora also recognizes. The food that we have eaten since our childhood, since our birth, that is normal food. So every time we put them on a diet, they would be craving to go back on the normal food. And so that diet is never going to be sustainable. What is going to be sustainable is when we put them on the food which they are happy eating, which is not actually giving them any kind of acidity, bloating, constipation issues, which is keeping them in a happy mood, which is giving them a lot of energy, which is giving them a good sleep, which is helping them wake up fresh, which is helping them, wanting them to exercise, which is getting the periods regular in case of females. That is the food. That is the food plan, which is actually successful. And that is the food plan which would stay with them for the next 3 months, next 3 years, next 30 years. So that would be sustainable. And that's the kind of food that we should be prescribing. Of course, it would cover up all the nutrients that we have studied about. But it is not just only about nutrients. We need to understand the role that food plays. If somebody is going for a wedding, we cannot ask them that go there and sit and eat salads. Today itself, Janmashtami is being celebrated all over India. Every one of us has something great being cooked at home. Some traditional prasad, some sweet, some savory in every different part of India, from makhan mishri to the nariyal barfi to the coconut laddus and the suji laddus, and so much more is being cooked all over. Can we ask them not to eat this? No. It all has to come in the food plan. So we need to understand the role of food in life and then come up with a proper nourishing food plan, which is helping them with all the nutrients, but keeping them sane and happy too. And so there is, you might be feeling that how do we go about it? So again, there is, as I said, that I had created the fist for myself to learn while I was in college. I have created another simple thing to understand that we need not be lost in what to eat or how to help others to eat. We just need to remember that the fad is today's rage and tomorrow's garbage. So we don't need any kind of fad diets, but we need to look into this. We need to keep it local. We need to eat according to the occasion. So if it is Janmashtami, we are eating the special food that is being prepared on Janmashtami. If it is Diwali, we need to eat what is being prepared in Diwali. And we should be, of course, eating according to the season. So if it's winter, summers, rainy season, how the seasons are going, accordingly, the food should also be changing. And the most important thing again is that it should be, cooked in the most traditional ways, which is specific to every household. You cannot be interfering too much into that because that's a family heritage. Every household has a particular way of cooking their food. So we can guide them, we can help them, but we cannot change that, because if we want to keep it sustainable, it should be coming out from their kitchen.